Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Alfredo Fumaças from the Benfica podcast, and you're listening to the Seleção podcast with Danny Pinto.
Simões bending one for Torres. Eusebio. Oh my word! Have you ever seen anything like that?
Bem jogado por Simão, a passar por dois adversários. Simão a tentar oferecer o golo a Figo e a bola é golo! O golo de Figo!
Rui Costa já acreditou, vai tirar para o golo, atira, golo! 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 Cristiano Ronaldo, vai para Cristiano Ronaldo! Bateu, golo, 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 golo!
Chuta! Gol!
And we welcome you to episode number 101 of the Seleção podcast, a proud partner of Portugal.net. My name is Danny Pinto. I am your host as I'm moving the microphone for all of you guys watching us on YouTube here. But first of all, if you are up in Canada, and by the time you hear or watch this episode, likely, hope everyone had a great Canada Day. If you are traveling, hopefully you are having a wonderful 4th of July if you are listening to us afterward for some reason. But hope everyone in North America who really supports this podcast, hope everyone's having good holidays, safe travels, and having a lot of fun. And just wishing you and yours some great holiday time with your family. And just make sure to take your time, man, because you got to have balance in your life. So episode 101 going to be a little different. I don't know if you guys can see for those who are watching on YouTube, but that is a Portugal jersey that has never made its appearance on this podcast, and not because, I'll tell you why, because I don't know much about the women's team, but they are, as of this recording, they are 2 days away from beginning their Euro 2025 campaign. And in the next couple of seconds here, we'll be talking with Mike Agostinho, Mr. Benfica himself. We will talk to him about the women's Euro, what Portugal has to offer in this tournament, and just to get to know as Navegadoras, because one, that's a sick nickname. Two, they are making strides and have been making strides on the national side of things for the last few years. So whenever a big tournament comes up, especially with the Euros here, I think it's justified for us to go ahead and get some coverage of the women's national team. So we'll have Mike and get his thoughts, and he'll give us his expertise on this national team in just a few moments. But of course, we want to make sure you guys are clicking on all the social medias. Make sure you're following us on Instagram and on Twitter. Our Facebook page, share our Facebook page. We of course are at Seleção Pod on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook.com/Seleção Pod on Facebook. You go to our website, selecaopod.com, email the show, selecaopod@gmail.com. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up button during the broadcast. It helps our show gain visibility with all the other algorithms going on. And of course, if you're listening to us the old-fashioned way, podcasts have been around for like 10 years. I don't know if it's old yet, but if you're listening to us via podcast, any of the podcasting platforms that you have, make sure if you aren't subscribed to us that you do. Make sure you leave a comment if you can, especially on Apple Podcasts, especially on Spotify, and give us a wonderful 5-star rating if you don't mind. But yeah, but let's get into it. Let's go. We'll bring it in. Let me get my fingers on my mouse here. That is not a euphemism. That is just what is happening. And we are happy to bring in Mike Agostinho. Mike, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing great, man. Doing great. This is a real thrill for me. You had reached out a couple of years ago when the World Cup was going on. I was on vacation in the Azores, so I was not able to make it happen. But I appreciate you taking me up on my offer for a little Euro coverage this summer, and let's see what these Navegadoras can do.
Yeah, I got my Navegadoras jersey on. I'm ready to go. I mean, I when this thing was produced in a men's version, I was on the wait list to get it, and yeah, I'm excited. I mean, the Navegadoras are in a tough spot right now. They're on a 4-match losing streak. They got a manager that will remind you of Fernando Santos in my opinion.
We're off to a good start, Mike.
I'm trying to be positive because I am excited, but at the same time, there's been very little rejuvenation in this squad. He's hanging with the same girls. Tournament after tournament, cycle after cycle. I mean, we're seeing a few young ones getting cycled in, but they're not seeing the pitch. They're there, but they're not really given a chance to contribute. Meanwhile, he's hanging on to some 35, 36-year-olds that a lot of people don't really think should be there anymore. And there's a loyalty to a generation that I think their time has sort of passed, that Francisco Neto is still hanging tightly to. We'll see if it holds out. I mean, we have probably the toughest group in the entire tournament. We're looking at
the good start continues, Mike.
We open up with Spain, who we just took a thumping from them really recently. We have some bad luck. Two of the teams in our group here were in our group in the Nations League just 3 months ago. So again, Spain is you get what you get, but that's the first game. That's such a tough way to start, right? And they are without a doubt the best team in the world, in my opinion. I don't think that there's even a second. Between the Barcelona influence in Spain's team and the rest of the Spanish players that are mixed into that group, they just play a brilliant brand of football that any neutral would love to watch. It's going to be tough to get anything against them, but the other two matches, anything can happen, okay? As down as I can be on the manager, if he plays his cards right, Belgium, we beat Belgium in one game in the Nations League. We lost in the other. So we won in Belgium and lost in Portugal, which is, not what you would expect. And then Italy, we're about the same. I mean, Portugal comes in as the 22nd ranked team in FIFA. Okay. Italy, I think, is 19th and Belgium is like 20th. So we're all very close to each other there. So after Spain, it really is a 3-team fight for that second spot to advance. And I love what the women's Euro has become, because it reminds me of the old men's Euro when it was 16 teams and every group was tough. There's no easy group. I say we have the toughest group, but it's not, maybe Group A, I was looking at it. Group A is one where we could have really maybe been a favorite for second place. But outside of that, every group has 2 contenders and, another outsider that could contend in it. So it's really going to be a fun tournament to watch because there is an equilibrium there and a competitiveness between the squads. And if Portugal show up and the Navegadoras bring the kind of fight and the kind of spirit they brought to the World Cup, they're going to be in it to the last minute like we were in the World Cup. And remember, we were seconds and inches away from beating the United States of all teams. I mean, it was a post that denied Ana Capeta of a historic goal. So if we can get to that, I'm going to be happy. If we can be still in it until the final minute, I think that'll be a success in this tournament.
Yeah, we're talking with Mike Agostinho. We are previewing not only the game against Spain for the in the women's Euro for the Navegadoras, but obviously just looking at the tournament as a whole for Portugal. The name that I think is on everyone's top list here as we look in, and we'll go delve into the roster a little bit because I want to kind of get your feedback, and I kind of heard a little bit about it, but I want to kind of delve into it a little bit more. But Francisca Nazaret, obviously Kiki Nazaret, is the name that emerged at the World Cup 2 years ago. She makes the move from Benfica to Barcelona, but during the club season this year, she got a really bad ankle injury, and she is called up to this roster. But from my understanding, there's no guarantee that she's going to play at all because there was a friendly against Nigeria. Obviously she didn't play then.
Right.
And then in the Nations League, I didn't see any games that she may have played there. I might be mistaken, but is she a question mark, a real question mark for this tournament, Mike?
I think she's a big doubt. I think she's there more for the locker room aspect, for the spirit aspect. At least that's what the manager has defended his selection of her as such. I did go to ChatGPT today to try to get see what's been printed, what's in the news about her. And she just returned to light training this month. So she's been out. She had surgery on March 19th, and she was expected to miss 4 months. She doesn't have any match fitness, so I don't know how much she can really give. She may come on for 10 minutes, but I mean, he trusts her enough. I don't know. I'm kind of torn because I understand keeping he really values keeping the squad together. I think that's why we've seen so little rejuvenation, why we've seen so little new faces come in. I think he really values that team chemistry aspect. But I can't help but wonder if she's not taking someone else's spot that might be able to contribute. It's really disappointing that she is apparently not going to be available to really contribute in this tournament because Portugal are so much stronger when she's on the pitch. She just makes things happen. She's imaginative on the ball. She's creative. She finds the spaces. She plays balls into tight areas. She sets the strikers up with good opportunities. She's deadly on the dribble. I mean, she can do it all as an attacking midfielder and really is a potential Ballon d'Or candidate. That's really a possibility for her, especially now at Barcelona. I mean, she's around the best players. She's training at the highest level. And she's going to be, in the late stages of the Champions League year after year. So it's a real loss to not have her. And I don't know if that spot wouldn't be better served with someone else. It kills me to say that. But Francisco Neto is valuing the team chemistry aspect. And it looks like she may come in, but she did not play in the recent pre-tournament friendly against Nigeria. But it says that training performances convinced the coach to keep her on the roster. So we'll see. Maybe she'll be a surprise. Maybe she's further along than they're letting us know. Either that or she's basically there to be a cheerleader in a way, to just pick up the spirits of the team and to be part of the family. I hope there's something there for her.
Yeah. Is it something, in your opinion, do you think that it's going to be based on whether she makes it on the field? Do you think it's going to be based on the performance of the team? So, for instance, let's say, and we'll go the negative aspect first, or the last game against Spain did not go well for Portugal. They open up with Spain. If it doesn't go well, and then I believe the next game is against Italy.
Italy's second, yep.
And then for whatever reason that doesn't go well, you're sitting on 0 points. To me, there would probably be no reason to bring her on in that third game. But if there is a need to bring her on, it could be just like a break glass in case of an emergency type deal.
Yeah, that could be the plan. I mean, it could be an emergency deal, like you said, if there's a chance at the end, and if she her recovery continues, because the third game is quite a ways away still. You got 10, 12 days, whatever it is away. So there's probably the hope that she'll continue to progress in her recovery and be able to give 15 or 20 minutes in that third game, need be. I mean, Portugal have to get to that third game with an opportunity, because I think Belgium is the most winnable of the 3 games. So if you get to that game and, winning is a possibility to put you in a position to advance, I think that Portugal can be happy in that situation. And at that point, I think all hands are on deck, and they're going to go for it and use every tool to try to advance. But Portugal are eliminated after 2 games. I can't see him taking a risk, and I can't see Barcelona not getting on the phone and saying, "Hey,
yeah, Barca especially."
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen that in the men's game too, where the club teams have a bigger and bigger influence on these things, and they let their opinions be known. And the same pressure is on these women's national team managers as well. So yeah, maybe that's the thought, is that if in that third match, if she can give us 15 or 20 minutes and we need a goal, we have her for that. And maybe that'll be what happens. We'll see.
Yeah, the women's schedule for Portugal in group play, they take on Spain on July the 3rd. They take on Italy on July the 7th, and then they take on Belgium to close out group play on July 11th. The Euro is taking place in Switzerland this summer, as we're talking with Mike Agostinho here on episode 101 of the Seleção podcast, as we're previewing the women's Euro 2025. Francisco Neto has been at the helm since 2014.
Yeah.
Men's or women's, I'm sure he is one of the most tenured, if not maybe the most tenured. I mean, 11 years is ridiculous at the national level. And in looking at the squad and kind of preparing for the interview with you, Mike, and you kind of really mentioned it already. There's a lot of experience on this team.
Yeah.
And there are 6 players that were called up that have at least 117 caps.
Yeah.
You have your captain, Dolores Silva, who has 172. Vice captains Ana Borges and Carol Costa, 185 and 180, respectively. I'm sure my primas are here, Tatiana and Fatima. Pinto. They're at 126 and 92, respectively. So there is a lot of experience that is going to Switzerland on this squad. But it was going to be one of my questions, and I'm glad you kind of addressed it here. So maybe just if you can maybe articulate it a little bit further. Him being at the helm for as long as he has, there seems to be a loyalty to this squad, which is both understandable, but also at the same time, it's a results-driven business. Are there players that you think, I don't want to go that route, but is there too much of a loyalty, you think, to the women that have helped, in essence, put Portuguese women's soccer on the map compared to maybe what maybe should have been done with this squad leading into this tournament?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, without saying it, bluntly, I think so. There's players, for me, Dolores Silva was a great player in her time. Okay. She was at Atletico Madrid once upon a time, 172 caps, but in her position, she really does not warrant being a starter anymore. I get she's the captain, and that's, I think, what keeps bringing him in, having him continue to call her, because she's the captain. The other two with 180, they still produce, but Ana Borges, 185 caps, ironically just signed with Benfica today. And it was the weirdest thing to see her say Carrega Benfica, because that's like,
that's dude, like in the, as of this recording, and I'm looking at the roster here. She was at Sporting, right?
Yeah, for a long time.
All right.
She was their captain, and they didn't renew her for whatever reasons, and she signs. The recording must have been done before they left for the Euro, but it came out today where she's saying it, and she's a player that used to be a wingback that would go up and down the sideline and really command the right side of the pitch. She's played as a forward for Sporting at times. She tucks in as a right center back for the national team. And I don't know if there isn't better options at those positions right now. She could still be on the team, certainly, because I think she still has something to give, but he seems to start her every single time. And I mean, 35 years old. It's not that common to see to see players going on this long. But again, like you said, he's been there since 2014. And if I'm not mistaken, he was an assistant before he became the head coach. So he's actually probably been there even longer. And I know if he was an assistant, he worked under Mike Agostinho, who might have even had an even longer tenure than he has. I'm not sure exactly. But she really got this program off the ground, Mike Agostinho did. And I got into this national team because staff members used to come to the United States and look for players that might be eligible. I was at coaching conventions, and I met a couple of former women's national team players who were American-based, American-born, but had capped for the national team. And you start having conversations, and next thing you know, you're getting emails saying, hey, do you know of any players that would be interested in trying out for our national? And that got me to start following the team a lot closer. But I think Francisco Neto being there all this time, I think he gets a loyalty to these players who've been there with him this entire time. And Ana Borges probably entered the team as a teenager, and here she is at 35 years old, still playing day in and day out. Like I said, she signs with Benfica, and hearing her say Carrega Benfica is like the equivalent of hearing on the men's side Otavio, who used to play for Porto, saying Carrega Benfica. It's the strangest thing I've ever heard. But
it doesn't land on the ear, right?
It doesn't land. I mean, you almost think it's an April Fool's joke, but she can definitely help. But I think if he's going to go with a back three, which he does often, I think there's better options at right center back. I think there's younger options. I think she could be useful as a wing back, as a backup wing back. She could be useful when you in attack, even because she's played for Sporting. She played much further up the pitch than she has for the national team. And the other thing with Francisco Neto that really irritates me, that I have to say, is the goalkeeping situation. If you follow this team, it is irritating that it seems like these two goalkeepers, Patricia Moraes and Rita Pereira, just alternate every game. There is no set number one. And there was, I think, maybe it was 2 years ago when they were both on Sporting, Inês Pereira was the undisputed goalkeeper at Sporting, match after match. Yet when the national team would play, she would play one game, then Patricia Moraes would play the other. And of course, it cost Portugal a qualification into the last Euro that only then was reversed because Russia was kicked out, because Russia had won the playoff against Portugal. He had gone with Patricia Moraes in the second leg. She had not played all season, and she made a terrible blunder on a ball that ended up being the goal that would have eliminated Portugal if world affairs didn't intervene and Russia wasn't expelled from the competition. And it ended up being a pretty successful competition for Portugal. But it seems he does not want to make a hard decision. He'll put players out of position. Catarina Amado, Lucia Alves, two Benfica players I know very well. Both can play as outside backs. He plays them as midfielders, as wingers, basically, in order to allow the Ana Borges of the world to stay on the pitch. It seems like if that's not what he's doing, it really appears that way. So, I mean, I'm skeptical about what he's going to do and about if he's going to over-rotate the squad from the first match to the second match. He did that at the World Cup. He put one team out there against the Netherlands. They fought hard. They fell short. He put almost a completely different team out against Vietnam. That was the match Portugal had to win, and they did, but only after he made substitutions to fix kind of the errors he made in rotating the squad so heavily. And then there was the U.S. game where I think he managed it perfectly. He put the right team out there in that game, and they almost got it done. So
the Netherlands game, if I'm not mistaken, the team played relatively well and relatively hard. I want to say, and I can look this up, but I want to go off memory because I remember watching that game in the Azores. I think it was the Netherlands up 1-0 after halftime, and it seemed like a very unjust 1-0. But then it was like right after the second half began, the Netherlands kind of jumped on Portugal a little bit. But sorry, I didn't mean to. No,
and I remember, at least going off memory, I remember that game being positive, like leaving positive feeling about the next game, and then seeing a whole different 11 out there, and just asking like, what's he doing? This is the game you have to win. So I don't know how he's going to rotate this squad. I don't know if he's going to go to a back four or a back five. If he goes with the back five, I would like to see I'd like to see Carolina Correa get some time as the third center back. She had a great season at Torreense, and Torreense won the cup this year. Like it's not, some of these teams have really raised their level in Portugal now. It used to be a two-team league. It was Benfica and Sporting, and Braga as the outsider. And now you have Torreense has invested heavily in their team, so they've become stronger. Porto's coming up. They're going to be in the first division very soon, and they're going to invest. They're not doing this to just be participants. Racing Power FC has invested heavily. They got to the cup final last season. So it's a more competitive league now, and it showed the last couple seasons. There's good players in other teams, so I'm glad to see. There's also an Ana Saisa who plays in Mexico, a former Benfica player who is a very good center back, and she's 24 years old, and I think she should be playing over someone who's 35 years old. That's my opinion, because there's going to be a next cycle, and you need to start getting some of these newer players in there. You don't want a whole new team in 2 years when these players in their mid-30s decide they're not playing anymore.
Is it a situation similar to the men's team where, that you would like to have seen someone maybe take over for Pep on a full-time basis a little earlier, but to Pep's credit, he played himself onto the field every time, so that really never came to fruition to have someone to play along with Ruben Dias until Pep decided to retire. Mm-hmm. Are the center backs in the Navegadoras lineup? Are there enough young players you think that can push to get the old guard, if you will, more of a shot to get on the field?
I think so. I mean, they haven't been given much of a chance, so it's hard to say that definitely. But I think so. I think you got Carolina Correa is 23 years old, but then you got Ana Saisa's 24, Diana Gomes is 26, and those are three very good center backs right there. And then Carol Costa is she's Portugal's female Otamendi. She just is ageless. She's still first to every ball. She's reading the game superbly, and she's their penalty taker on top of it. She is the one that converts the penalties for the Navegadoras. So she's really an undisputed starter. She's kind of that elder statesman or elder stateswoman, if you will, who kind of still commands that respect. But I think in those four, there's more than enough quality to fill out the three central defending positions. Now, you don't have to start tucking a wing back into an inside center back to make room for them. I think it is time to really start to inject these newer players, but I don't believe he's going to do that here at the tournament. I think if he was going to do that, it would have been done in the process to get here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is where he wants to do it and to start planning for the next cycle. I don't know. But what I do like is every qualification cycle, every Nations League, every tournament, the interest gets higher, which also means the criticism gets louder.
Sure, absolutely.
People are paying more and more attention. 10 years ago, Portugal fans would have been happy just to be there. And that's not good enough. So I guess he does deserve some credit for getting us to this point where just getting there is not good enough anymore. Got relegated out of Nations League again. We're going to go back to League B after getting promoted to League A. Probably what Portugal's future is going to be for a while is that yo-yo position in the Nations League, because there is still a gap between, the haves and the have-nots of the women's game, a larger one than in the men's game, which is why you'll see a few more blowouts than you're used to seeing in the men's game. If you're tuning in for the first time, there will be some lopsided results most likely, because there is a difference between the top tier and the middle and bottom tier. The difference could be greater than casual viewers may be used to seeing. But I just think that, it should be a time for Portugal to be brave, because this is a tough group. And you don't know what you have until you're tested. You know what the older generation has given you, but you don't know what this younger generation can give you. And I think that this is a great opportunity in Switzerland, too, where there's going to be plenty of support for the Navegadoras. I don't doubt it for a second. It's going to be home games in these 3 games, I would expect. And who knows, you might just find the next Kika Nazareo. You might just find the next star be born, if you just give them an opportunity. Looking at the midfield, with Kika out, that opens an opportunity for an Andrea Faria, who's had the best season of her career in actually the last 2 seasons. She's really progressed largely in the last 2 seasons. Tatiana Pinto is, one of my favorite players in midfield. That's someone I wish Benfica could get to really solidify the midfield. She's a former Sporting player. She now plays at Atletico Madrid. Like, these are big clubs. She's 31 years old, but still very productive. You got Fatima Pinto as well that can play in midfield, or she can also play as a center back. Like in a game situation where you don't have a substitution, she slots in as an extra center back when needed. You got Beatriz Fonseca from Sporting, 26 years old, only 5 caps, hasn't been given an opportunity. I'd love to see what she can do. Andrea Norton has been, she's got 99 caps. So the next time she steps on the pitch, it's cap 100. She's only 28 years old. Very strong, very intelligent player, really could show. Andrea Jacinto is only 23 years old, which this has got to be her 3rd major tournament already. I think she's a teenager. Yeah, so World Cup Euro. She's in her 3rd, and she was unquestionable 4 years ago. So she's played in Spain the last couple seasons. She's bounced around. Whatever's happening at Sporting, they're not retaining their players. They've let a lot of them go in the past couple seasons. So she's bounced around a little bit, but she's at Real Sociedad. She's got 52 caps at age 23, and she's a real strong ball-winning midfielder. And then in the attack, we have some firepower that, if given the opportunities, can really make something happen. The top striker for me is Telma Encarnação. She's also 23 years old and already got 41 caps, 7 goals, and she's Sporting's, goal scorer. She's their threat. Before that, she scored a gazillion goals at Marítimo, and she's really somebody that is dangerous that other teams are going to focus on. But you still have a Diana Silva, who rumor has signed for Benfica as well, but it hasn't been made official. She's another Sporting player that apparently is jumping ship.
See, they should have just done it together.
Who knows what's going on, but she's been very productive over the years. She's been very reliable. Ana Capita has been reliable when called upon off the bench. And then you got Jessica Silva, who not in the best spot in her career right now. 30 years old. She is at Gotham FC here in the NWSL, but she suffered a horrific injury last year where she nearly lost her eyesight, and she missed a lot of football and has played very little this season for Gotham. So I don't know how prepared she is, but she's got 122 caps. And again, one of the criticisms of Neto has been his preference for someone like her who isn't always performing at the club level, but when they come into the national team. But I guess you could say that about the men's team too. We see João Felix brought in how many times. We see other players who aren't playing in their club teams, and they're continually brought in and they're included. So those are the 4 up front. I think there's talent here to do something. Got to get through the Spain game and then really go after the next 2.
So I in I guess asking what the best case scenario or a realistic best case scenario, you try to survive the Spain game the best you can. If you're going to lose, you try to lose by a minimal deficit for sure.
Of course.
Is the realistic goal, you think, for Francisco Neto for this squad and the federation to get into the knockouts? Is that that's got to be the next goal? Because if I'm not mistaken, has this national team gotten into a knockout of a major tournament yet, or no?
No, not yet.
So this would be quite the feather in their cap if they can get
absolutely
through. Yeah. So
absolutely, it's the 3rd Euro in a row that Portugal's been in, and I think 3rd in the group each time, getting closer, but yet to advance. And it's going to take an upset against at least a point against Italy, but realistically, you probably have to win those 2 games. It depends how many goals you surrender to Spain, because if you get on the wrong side of the goal difference, that makes it very difficult, because then teams know they only need a point against you.
Sure.
And it's much harder to overcome that than if you go into a match where both teams need to win and there'll be more open play. Yeah, I think the realistic goal has to be to advance. The program's at a level of maturity now where that has to be the expectation. It's been on the rise for almost a decade, and some of these players.
And not to put you on the spot, but it was going to be my follow-up question. And can you describe how what the rise has been in the last say 6, 7, maybe the last decade or so? Because it does seem to me that the federation is putting more and more resources behind this national team. For, if I'm not mistaken, sometime like up until I think maybe that jersey behind me, they not only were the women getting the same jerseys that the men were getting, but
they were getting men's cuts.
What's that?
They were getting men's cuts of the.
So even that, but it was like when the men's national team would get a new jersey, the women's national team would get the previous jersey, if I'm not mistaken. So how big of a jump has the national team on the women's side taken in the last decade or so? And then, maybe the women's game in general in Portugal, as you mentioned, it used to be a 2-team race with Braga being the third, with Sporting and Benfica up top. But how has the evolution of the women's game come about in the last decade or so?
Oh, it's been tenfold. I mean, it's gone from amateur to professional. That's 10 years ago it was pretty much fully amateur. It's just it's gone it is synced together, where the national team and the domestic league have both kind of climbed together here. And people, investment has been put into the women's game. People believe in the women's game now. So there is, BPI, the bank has been sponsoring the league for a number of years now, and they've invested a lot of cash into it. Obviously, Benfica and Sporting taking it serious and investing, it makes it's a whole different world when they're committed. And now
did that fast track this growth?
So. Okay. I believe so, because it was going like this, and then it took a serious climb especially when Benfica got in, because Benfica getting in makes Sporting also have to invest as well, because Sporting, they looked like they were going to run women's football. It was going to be an easy department for them to win every year. And then Benfica announces that they're starting a team, go through the clean out the second division. And Sporting realized that they also had to invest. Maybe they over-invested, and that's why they've had to let so many players go over the past couple of seasons. But it's created a base for this national team between those two clubs, which I think is very, very instrumental in the growth, because it's a group of players that when they're not, playing each other and fighting with each other, they come into the national team and they have a good team chemistry. And a lot of players returned to Portugal to play for those two teams in the last 6-7 years. They've left their clubs abroad and they've returned to Portugal to play for those two teams. And it'll be interesting when Porto gets into the first division, if players don't suddenly start returning to Portugal to play for Porto, and if they start competing with Benfica and Sporting for players, And again, they're starting to really pay more and more. I mean, it's not a luxurious life that these girls live. Okay, they're professional athletes. They're not paid anywhere near what the men are, but they are paid light years better than what their coaches, the coaches on their staff or their club coaches were earning when they played a decade and a half ago, when it was fully amateur. So it has been a incredible growth to go from basically being like a Luxembourg, basically, is where Portugal's women's team was a decade ago. If you compare it to the men's game, maybe a Luxembourg or a Nations League C to B kind of level of team, to being right on the cusp of being in the elite, now being in the top 16, the Portuguese league now being considered in the top 6 in Europe. It's a long way from the 5th, but it's the best of the rest, if you will. It's really growing, and I mean, the sky's the limit. The U19 girls just got to the semifinals of their Euro a few weeks ago. They were beaten by, guess who? Spain. And they missed out on going to a final thanks to Spain. And Spain just got ahead of this before everybody else. They figured it out a few years before everybody else, and now the system is there. Everyone's trying to copy it. Everyone's trying to, between Barcelona and Spain, that dominant club that really develops the core of the national team. Now Benfica and Sporting developing the core of the national team for Portugal. So the more players that can come through from that U19 squad that can be integrated into this group going forward, I think there's still plenty of room for growth, but it doesn't change the fact that the growth thus far has been astronomical for this program. And the resources have been increasing, every cycle. And the fact that Nike in their last contract with Portugal actually gave the women their own kit, completely different than the men's one. What I have here, the men never wore this.
I love the women's kit, the away kit. I got that for my wife when it came out, and I thought.
Yeah,
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a men's size for myself, but I don't think they make women the men's size for a big guy like me. But I thought it was just like the creativity on that was top notch. So it's good to see that. Mike, I really appreciate you making some time, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. We're going to have Mike on with us throughout the entirety of Portugal's time at the Euros this summer. Mike, if people have only seen you for the first time now or heard you for the first time now, give us a little bit of what you're about, how you came to be in this world of because I know you podcast a little bit. I know you're a Benfiquista through and through, but just a little bit about yourself to kind of let the people know who you are.
Yeah, I used to coach. I pushed a coaching career as far as I could until life got in the way and I had to make a real earning. I was in the lower levels here in the United States. I was in the USL for a while, but and then I had to stay involved in the game, and I just one day pressed record on my phone. The guys, I owe it all to Benfica podcast, Cristiano and Alfredo, because I listened to them, and I was like, yeah, but they didn't. It was really Chris, because I would yell at him from my car as I'm listening. I would disagree.
Chris doesn't usually get that. No, everyone usually agrees with what he has to say.
Right, but I always have a more positive. Because I look at the game from the view of a coach.
Sure.
And most podcasters look at the view of a fan.
Me.
So that's where. So it wasn't so much that it was that. Yeah, but the coach did it because. And I knew and I would be sitting in my car yelling back. And then I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just hit record, see if I can do this? And then I did, and I did it a few times just for fun. And then I said, oh, what the hell? Let's publish this.
Hell yeah.
And it caught on. So I became Mr. Benfica. And because I took that name because one of my former players who was from Portugal called me Mr. all the time. And then it was a Benfica podcast. So I became Mr. Benfica.
Love it.
And from there, I just tried to branch out a little bit. I started trying to do a little bit of a travel vlog, going to matches. When I have time to edit video, it's pretty time consuming, but I try to keep, keep active, try to keep creating. But that's how I became a podcaster. And 7 years later, here I am still loving it. And wish I had more time for it, to be honest. I think we all do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wish I had more time for it, but it's been great. I just spent, a week and a half on the road watching Benfica at the Club World Cup, and just had the experience of a lifetime.
Were you hit by any hail in North Carolina?
No, I was home by the knockout stage. So
okay. Oh, that's through the group. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I was home and hoping to call out of work and risk my job and possibly my marriage to go to Philadelphia for Friday's game, but it didn't work out, which I guess is okay.
Yeah, but, for the sake of your marriage, I think you might be happy that Chelsea took care of business.
Yeah, in a way, and for the health of the players, and with preseason 10 days away, and half the team suspended on yellow cards for that.
Buddy, this has been the weirdest and most action-packed summer of soccer,
really
I think, ever. I mean, like you go right from, you got the club season ended, you have the Champions League final, you then have the Nations League semifinals, you have this FIFA Club World Cup, and then I'm like, when are these guys going to get like time off? And I know, again, they're not breaking bricks, but at the same time, it's like, that's a lot of wear and tear on the body, and it'll be interesting to see, teams like PSG with a handful of Portuguese players there, what that does to these teams. As like next month, we're back at it in all the top European clubs and everything. So it'll be very interesting to see what that looks like. But I'm glad you were able to go out to some of the games. And where are you based out of?
I'm in the Boston area.
Right on. So, man, I can't thank you enough for making time. Of course, the games are July the 3rd. That's against Spain. July the 7th against Italy, and then July the 11th against Belgium. All the games in the United States are going to be on either Fox or Fox Sports 1. For our friends up in Canada, it'll be on TSN. In the UK, the BBC, ITV, and whatever S4C is. Never heard that one before. And then for our friends in Australia, Optus Sports is covering that. Those are the countries that download this show the most. So I want to make sure that you guys, watch the games. It'll be interesting if you haven't yet. I think given the start times here in the States, they're noon on the West Coast, 3 p.m. on the East Coast. They're perfect times, especially on the summer, during the summer. So take advantage of it. Let's see what the Navegadoras can do. Yeah. And Mike and I will take you guys throughout the entire tournament for as long as the Navegadoras are in it. So, Mike, again, all the best to you, man. Thank you for making time, and we'll see you on the next episode.
All right. Thanks, Danny.
All right, brother. And that will do it for episode number 101 of the Seleção podcast as we previewed the Euro 2025 women's tournament. My thanks again to Mike Agostinho. You can follow Mike on Twitter at Mike Agostinho. That's MikeAgostinho. My thanks to him for breaking down the roster of our Navegadoras, and let's see what they can do in this tournament with Spain, Italy, and Belgium on the horizon in group play. My name is Danny Pinto. I have been your host of the Seleção podcast, a proud partner of Portugal.net. And as always, Força Portugal!